The Wilcox Classical Museum was created in 1888. It is the university's oldest museum collection on campus. Known originally as the university's Classical Museum, the Department of Classics and the university created this collection for the purpose of introducing students of KU and the residents of the state of Kansas to great works of art from ancient Greece and Rome. The collection began with plaster casts of Greek and Roman works of sculpture. Like many university museums in North America in the 19th century, casts were purchased because major original works of classical art were not readily available. And it was also prohibitively expensive for most students and Kansans to travel to Europe to view originals, such as those in the great museums of London, Paris, and Rome, where most of the originals of our casts were at the time, and for that matter, where they still are today. The collection today holds about 100 plaster casts and over 1,000 artifacts and objects. Here we see photographs of what the museum originally looked like in Old Fraser Hall. That is about 120 years ago, around the year 1900. The museum always has been a teaching museum, so the plaster casts and artifacts were displayed then, as they are now, in the context of a teaching space, part art gallery, part classroom. In 1915, the museum was renamed the Wilcox Classical Museum after one of its founders, Professor Alexander Wilcox. The museum thrived for decades, but ran into trouble in the 1950s and 60s when the future of Old Fraser Hall became more and more perilous. The museum had to close in 1964, and Old Fraser Hall was torn down in 1965. At that point, the Wilcox collection did not have a home, and it was nearly 25 years later before it was reconstituted and revived in its current location today in Lippincott Hall on Jayhawk Boulevard. When visitors and students enter the main gallery today, they see an impressive collection of white plaster casts of masterpieces of Greek and Roman sculptures. The originals for these works are housed in some of the most important museums in Europe, such as the Louvre in Paris, the British Museum in London, the Vatican Museums in Rome, and the Capitoline Museum in Rome. The collection of plaster casts includes large freestanding works originally carved from marble. It also includes busts of Roman imperial family members, such as these. Some of the more significant and rare plaster casts in the collection are 30 relief panels from the Greek temple known as the Parthenon on the Athenian Acropolis. When assembled, the Wilcox collection's casts of the Parthenon frieze measure over 80 feet in length. There are also many other plaster casts of statues, casts of architectural pieces, even casts of ancient coins, cameos, and cut gemstones. Not all of these are on display today. In addition to casts, the collection holds an impressive array of artifacts and objects from ancient Greece and Rome, including works of terracotta and vase painting, small sculptures in terracotta, and small domestic objects like oil lamps, votive objects, small decorative pieces, jewelry, as well as fragments of architecture, samples of marble, and important inscriptions with Greek and Latin texts. And don't forget our large collection of ancient coins, numbering over 500 specimens. The museum is also a teaching space, so it has an unusual function combining the functions of an art gallery and a classroom. On any given day in the museum, students from several departments such as classics, art history, history, anthropology or museum studies, even studio arts, will come to the museum for class. More and more, we are using digital technologies in the museum. We also have a brand new website which makes accessible almost everything in the collection. Not all of our casts and objects are on display, as I mentioned, so the new website performs an important function in publishing nearly everything that we have in our collection. The website also includes three-dimensional models of some of our most favorite artifacts, such as the duck cup in the upper left and the barbarian head also on this page. These models were made by KU students in courses taught in 2018 and 2019. In the future, we hope to have many more 3D models available for use on our website. We are also in the process of designing new exhibits for the museum. The panel from the Parthenon frieze shown here is one of the cavalry panels from the Parthenon frieze. This panel and others will be the focus of a new exhibit on the lost coloring of Greek and Roman art. These panels were brightly painted once, and they even had applied decorations in metal. We know that the Parthenon frieze was originally brightly painted and decorated, but that's not the impression that visitors get when they go to see the plaster casts in our museum, or, for that matter, when they go to see the original marble panels, either in the British Museum in London or the museum in Athens. So, one of the things that we've been doing is experimenting with different ways of representing the lost original coloring of the Parthenon frieze panels. Here you see an example of a test visualization. Here's another example of colorizing, so to speak, one of our plaster casts of a bust of the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. The original is in the British Museum in London. Our cast is, of course, bright white, but it's a safe assumption that the original sculpture was brightly painted. So here you see in this visualization, created by KU students in 2018, one possibility for what the original looked like. Now, we don't know for sure if the colors shown here are absolutely correct, but we can be sure that the original resembled this representation. One of the other interesting projects that we'll be doing soon is to experiment with digital projection in the gallery so that visitors to the museum will be able to see for themselves colors projected onto the plaster casts in real time. This is a very exciting project that we have in mind for the future. Thank you for watching this introductory video about the Wilcox Classical Museum.